Hey guys, I'm Mrs. Delavecchia, and before we start, I want to remind you to take notes using the guided notes that are in your unit packet. Those notes will be a part of your grade. If you have any questions, write them down and we'll go over them in class. So let's get started. Okay, in this lesson, we're going to look at the slopes and the equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. So a few things to cover here. We need to find the slope of a line if we're given 2 points. If we're given an equation that's in slope-intercept form, which we actually did that in the last unit, an equation in point-slope form and in standard form. Then we'll identify parallel and perpendicular lines based on their slopes, and then be able to write an equation that is either parallel or perpendicular to another line. All right, let's get going on that. Okay, and to start with, we have finding the slope from 2 points. So if we have 2 points on a graph, then we are just going to take the difference of the y's, the difference of the x's, x minus x, y minus y, and we will calculate the slope in that way. So here's an example. Okay, we've got 2 points on this graph, negative 5, 2, negative 1, 0. So we're going to take the y minus the y, which is 0 minus 2, and then the x minus the x, which is going to be negative 1 minus a minus 5. Remember, when we subtract a negative, that's going to turn around and be positive. So here we go. Simplifying this fraction, we have negative 1 plus 5 is positive 4. Negative 2 over 4 reduces to negative 1/2. So the slope from 2 points calculated that way. Now, if you were on a graph, you could just count your slope. Let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so from one point to the other, I'm just going to count down first, and that is down 2, so that's a minus 2. So rise over run, but we didn't rise, we fell, so minus 2, and then run 1, 2, 3, 4. We went 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get where we were at right here. All right. And so again, from 2 points, I'm going to take the difference in my y's. So negative 5 minus 13 divided by the difference of my x's, negative 25, minus a minus 9. 2 negatives, add it, keep it negative, so that's going to be negative 18. A minus and a minus becomes a plus. So now I have negative 25 plus 9. So the difference in those two numbers would be 16. But the negative number is larger, so it stays negative. All right, now I have a negative 18 over a negative 16. I do want to reduce that. So negative over negative becomes positive. 8 can be reduced. Let's see, that would be 9 times 2. This would be 8 times 2. Those 2's would cancel out, and I would get 9 over 8 as a slope. And that can't be reduced any further. All right, there's actually 3 forms of a linear equation. This form is the more common one. We use it because we have the slope right here that we can use and the y-intercept right here. And this is the version that we talked about in last unit, but the slope always comes from the letter in front of the x, y equals mx plus b, when it is in this form. And then the intercept, the y-intercept, is the b value there. Okay, another form of linear equations is what we call point-slope form. The point slope, it has a point, that's the green parts here, and then the m is the slope, and that is the number in front of the x's. Alright, so in this, y minus y equals slope times x minus x. So the slope of this would be the 4, and then the point that is in this line would be the point -5, and this would be -1. So, and the slope would be 4. So we're looking at the format of the equation and then matching up to find the values that are in it. All right, and the third one is standard form. That's when you have a number times x plus the number times y equals another number. Standard form. In order to find the slope from standard form, I'm going to want to rearrange this equation till y is by itself. So that means I'm going to take minus x to both sides, minus 8x. That's going to leave me negative 4y equals negative 8x plus 4. And then I need y by itself, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 4. These will cancel out. And now I have y equals negative 8x over negative 4. I'm going to go ahead and simplify 4 over negative 4. That's just a minus 1. Okay. And then I need to simplify negative 8 over negative 4. Negative over negative is positive. 4 goes into 8 2 times. And this is now in slope intercept form, which means the slope would be 2. So that one's a little trickier because you got to rearrange the equation to get it into slope intercept form. All right, here's another one. You can pause the video and try it. This one's arranged a little bit differently, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get y by itself, so I'm going to add x to both sides, giving me 4y equals x plus 6. Then I've got a number times y, so I'm going to divide everything by that. Okay. And now again, this goes away. So my slope is always the number in front of the x value. And in this case, it would be 1/4 x would be that term. Another way to write it. So the slope would be 1/4. All right, when we have parallel lines mean are two lines that are going to go on and on forever without touching. And we know that parallel lines have the same slope. All right, so when we see them in an equation, we're going to know they're parallel because they have the same slope. If they have the same slope, we know they're parallel. And this little indicator right here means the lines are parallel. And it's kind of interesting because in the word parallel, you actually kind of have the indicator. It's just two lines next to each other, indicates parallel. Okay, so same slope, the two lines are parallel. So let's look at these and see which ones of these would be parallel. And of course, 3 and 3 is what we're looking for, and all of these are something else. Okay, here's a trickier one because this 6x plus 3y equals 12 is in standard form, so I need to switch this around. Now I've got 3y equals negative 6x plus 12. So once again, I'm getting it into y equals mx plus b format. All right, next step is divide everything by the coefficient of the y. Then I'm going to reduce this. Negative 6 over 3 is negative 2. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that is the second equation rearranged. So one has a slope of 3, negative 3, sorry, and the other has a slope of negative 2. So that would tell me no, these ones are not parallel. They do not have the same slope. All right, perpendicular lines look like this picture, and they will always meet at a 90-degree angle. And our symbol for perpendicular is this, well, it looks like a perpendicular line, looks like an upside down T, and that is our indicator for perpendicular lines. So 90-degree angle, and the slopes of perpendicular lines are always the opposite reciprocal of each other, or negative reciprocal. I like to say opposite because you could have a negative slope and then the reciprocal would be opposite of that. So let's take some examples. So if our slope was negative 2, a perpendicular slope to that would be positive because it needs to be the opposite sign, and we're going to take 2 and find the reciprocal. So these would be parallel slopes. Let's go with negative 1/4. All right, well, it needs to be positive and you would flip it, so 4 would be a perpendicular slope. How about 2/3? All right, the parallel slope would have to be negative and flip 2/3 into 3/2. Those would be perpendicular. One interesting case is 1 and negative 1. Okay, well, what happens if you flip 1? 1 is 1 over 1, which would still be just 1. And the same thing here, but one's positive, one's a negative. So these are actually also perpendicular slopes. All right, and negative 2 and 1/2. So if I flip negative 2, it's going to become 1/2. And it's a negative here and a positive there. So yes, this is perpendicular slopes. All right, and the last thing we need to be able to do is write the equation of a line that is parallel or perpendicular to a line that's given. So a few steps involved here. So let's draw the line that we are given. So we're going to plot a y-intercept of 3. We're going to count down 1 and over 2. Down 1 over 2. And then we can draw this line. Okay. And now it says write the equation line that is parallel to this one and goes through the point 4, negative 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to go through here. Now we could sketch this pretty easily because if they are parallel, that means they must have the same slope. So from here I can go instead of down 1 over 2, that's going to put me off the graph. So I will go up 1 this way, 2 this way, kind of counting backwards. And if you connect those, you see that that line would be parallel. So how do we write the equation? Couple steps. First, we have to identify what our slope needs to be of our new equation, and it's going to be equal to that. So it's going to be negative 1/2. So I'm going to use my y equals mx plus b. I'm going to fill in what we know about this line. We know that it goes through the point 4, negative 1. So I'm going to plug in these coordinates. This is x, y. I'm going to plug in negative 1, put in the slope that I have, put in the x value that I know, and I need to solve for the missing y-intercept. I want to see where is this going to hit the y-intercept. All right, so solve this. Negative 1/2 times 4, so that becomes a negative 2. All right, and then add 2 to both sides. So negative 1 plus 2 is 1 equals b. And that's about what it looks like, that the slope would be 1. So when we go to back rewrite the equation, I'm going to go and leave y as a variable. I'm going to put in my slope, leave x as a variable, and then I'll put in the intercept that I found. All right, we're going to do the same thing, but now we need a perpendicular slope. So I'm going to write my slope right now is negative 2/5. So my new equation needs to have a slope that is perpendicular, and that's going to be flipped and the opposite sign. And it needs to go through the point negative 4, 0. So I'm going to take y equals mx plus b. I'm going to substitute in the y value for that I know I have, which is 0, the slope that I need, the x that I have from this point, and then solve for the intercept. 0 equals 2 goes into negative 4 2 times, so this becomes negative 10 plus b. I'm going to add 10 to both sides because I'm solving for b. b equals 10. All right, so then I'm going to write my new equation, leaving y blank, putting in my new slope, leaving x blank, plus 10. And that would be the equation of a line that would be perpendicular to this one going through the point negative 4, 0.